Man, on this show, we love the stories, love revisiting the past. And so years ago, your daughter, I met her in Florence, Alabama, during a American Idol event that we were both judging at the time. And she gave me the incredible opportunity to go to Memphis on my way back to Texas and check out the Sam Phillips recording studio, where
Hmm.
all of this magic is happening nowadays. And man, what a treat that was for us to go in there, and what an incredible time capsule that place is. The way you guys have left it, from the original equipment that's there, some of the lathes that were instrumental in recording some of the biggest songs in history, really. There's even a cigarette scar still on the bar there, left reportedly left by Johnny Cash, if I remember it right. And your dad's desk is still up there on the top floor, just as he left
It
it.
is.
What does that
Right,
place mean to
exactly.
you, Jerry?
Man, it means everything to me. It really does. It's just like it's home to me. You know what I mean? I kind of grew up there. I learned to record there. I learned to make records there. I learned to meet people there. I learned to deal with people there. I learned all kinds of business aspects of the music business there. Uh, every time I'm there, I'm just super comfortable, and it's just a great place. And at one time, Sam wanted to sell the building after he kind of got out of the music business. My brother Knox and I said, no, no, we're not selling this place. We're
No.
just not going to do it. And so over his objections, and they weren't too bad at the objections, to be honest with you. I don't think he really wanted to do it, but I mean, he wanted to do it, but I don't think he was just dead set on it. But yeah, one of the things that I'm most proud of is my daughter Hallie. She's a, I mean, I wouldn't say this if it wasn't true. She's a really excellent record producer. She has got the Phillips DNA in her body, and so she is, and she doesn't mind telling me, when we're in the studio setting, Dad, need to redo that or whatever. She's a producer, and she really enjoys doing that, and she's good at it. And so you know. I know that I used to be a rebellious person in my family. My brother always told the line, not that he was a weak person or anything, but he always did was kind of what he was supposed to do, and he ended up getting all kind of awards for everything. While I was out riding motorcycles, chasing women, I didn't want to be
Wrestling.
in the shadow. Yeah, wrestling. I didn't want to be in the shadow of Sam Phillips at that time in my life.
Yeah.
But now I realize I was wrong. It's one of the greatest things ever. And Hallie has been involved in my life in the music business. It would right now it would like I told my dad, I left two or three different times. Left the fam. If you're in a family business and you leave the business, you kind of left the family. I don't know. It's kind of that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I know if Hallie also said, Dad, as hard as I've worked, I don't think I want to be involved in this anymore. I'm going to do something else. And I did that to my dad. I worked at a truck line swimming pool company. I went in the army, and I did all that stuff. And then I am the prodigal son, like the Bible talks about. I woke up one day and said, "Man, I just need to go back to the studio and do the music thing, man." And he welcomed me back with open arms. He never even mentioned the fact that I had left or that I'd done him wrong or anything like. He says, come on back. We're glad you're back, man." And so I've been back ever since. As far as basically working out of that studio and that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, me being a Phillips is a real plus. At one point in time, I thought it was not a plus. I thought, man, how am I going to get out of this shadow?
Yeah,
How
it's
am I
funny.
ever going
You're
to get?
you're answering a lot of questions that I had listed over here. That is definitely one of them that I imagine is going to be really difficult as a young musician. Is just being in that shadow. Um,
Yeah.
when did
Well,
you? When, if ever, maybe you still do, but when, if ever, did you stop feeling that pressure of that huge
man,
shadow?
it was probably after I had I had worked for Stax Record for their Enterprise label they had at one time, and I had my own record label a couple of different times, and it, I really realized the the obstacles in the music business. But nothing comes easy in the music business, and
No.
so I finally realized that, man. I've got a studio here. I need to just get back to work, and that's what I did, I've been there, ever since. And like I said, I hate to keep bringing Hallie's name up, but I'm so proud that the next generation is really interested in what's her grandfather did, what I'm doing. I've got
Hmm.
another daughter who's a really fabulous singer. She doesn't work in the music business with us now, but she has in the past. She's been in the radio and the music business, but right now they've got a big commercial chicken farm, and she's married to a two Purple Heart Bronze Star Marine guy. So
Amazing.
they've got a pretty good life going anyway. And but it's you know, I just woke up one day and said, man, you're stupid.
Yeah. So at some point in time, you just realize that the last name is just another tool that you can use to further yourself down the road. And I mean, if it opens doors for you, why should you be the one to shut those doors, right?
That's exactly right. But that's a young man's thinking process to shut the door. Now, it opens doors for me, just on a social level. You know what I mean? I
Right.
mean, like my family in Memphis. Is like I just had a listening party for my album. And at the Crosstown Listening Lab, and the the people that wrote the little thing about what was going to happen said, Memphis music royalty, Jerry Phillips is premiering his album. So that's I guess we are a Memphis music royalty,
You are,
because
absolutely. And that
Sam
alone
was,
is going to get people to listen that ordinarily wouldn't, possibly, right?
yeah. And if a lot of times somebody will sometimes I'll be introduced. They'll go, if it's a young person they're introducing me to, they'll go, "Do you know who this guy is?" And they go, "Well, no." He goes, "Well, that's Sam Phillips' son." They go, Um, they
Who?
hadn't
They
really
still
heard of
don't
Sam
know.
Phillips.
Yeah,
They
right.
still know, but then when they say Sun Records or Elvis Presley and all that, they go, "Oh yeah, yeah, I know what that is." But here's what I found out: that people don't know who I am before they meet me. After they meet me, and we've been around each other for a little while, and that Phillips thing kicks in as a positive. You
Mm.
know what I mean?
Yep.
It's a positive that that's the family I'm from. Not me going in and go, well, man, I'm Jerry Phillips. My dad was Sam Phillips, and man, boy, boy, boy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just not that way, man. And but no, it's a total 100% plus. He was a hard guy to work for because he was so passionate about everything that he did.
Mm.
And we sometimes Knox and I would go to the beach, and he'd say, well, "Hurry up and get back. Beaches will make you lazy." You know?
Yeah.
Never took a vacation at all.
So you're talking a lot about Hallie, and you keep apologizing about that. Don't do that, please, because I have questions about Hallie as well. She's really instrumental, not only in your life, obviously, she's your daughter, but this record was really, really her lifeblood, so to speak. And so, what I want to know is she's your daughter. I have daughters myself, right? So then the shoes of authority are passed to her now, and you are the artist. She is your boss. That's the way the studio works. How does that work for Jerry Phillips now, where you're taking orders from Hallie?
Well, it's only in certain situations that I take orders from her. But we do fight sometimes, but we always end up loving each other.
Of
At
course.
the end of the fight, and I fought with my daddy too a lot. He said, "Jerry, the only reason we fight is because you're too damn much like me." And
Hmm.
and so he hit the nail on the head. And so Hallie and I, we get along great, but I have a lot of respect for what she says. Most of the time, she's right. The only time I get mad at her is when I know she's right and I don't like it. You know what I mean?
Well, I was going to say the producer is always right, whether she's your daughter or not, right? Like, she's
Yeah.
just more right when she's your daughter.
Well, if she's right, she's right. That's just what it amounts to. If she's wrong, she's wrong. But that hadn't happened very many times. That's just a difference of opinion. I don't know that she's been wrong a lot of the time.
Yeah, I
You know
was
what I
just
mean?
curious though. Like, I mean, was there any swallowing of the pride from your side? Like, man, like with some chagrin, you're like, God, she's right. All right, let's do it that way.
I mean, not really. I mean, a few times, if I know I've been, not particularly in the studio, but she's in the family business too, and sometimes she'll point out things that maybe I should have done a little better,
Hmm.
and it'll irritate me a little bit, but it's only because I know she's right about it.
Absolutely.
And I'm not
That's
saying I'm not saying she's right about everything in the whole world, the most right person in the world, but she's here. She's solidly in the family business. We're in the
yeah.
radio business and the music business, and she's uh, she's been a huge help to me.
And that's
She
just
really
us
has been.
being ornery sometimes too, right? Like we just have to be
Oh
like, no,
yeah,
you can't be right.
I
Absolutely
could be
not.
that way.
So,
Yeah.
all right, let's finally talk about the record. This is just such a huge thing. I'm when I first of all when I saw this come across a couple months ago, I was like, just getting back into podcasting, and I saw the first promotion for the universe, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be fantastic. And so I already wanted to talk to you, but so first of all, it's called From the Universe, not For the Universe. That's my
No, it's
first.
for you, right?
Is
It's
it For the
for it is.
Universe? Okay.
Yeah, it is for the universe.
All right.
Yeah,
So
I'll tell you where that came from.
sure, yeah.
I've got a saying that when you're in the studio, you're not playing for the tape machine. You're playing for the universe. The tape machine just remembers it for you,
That's amazing.
which means you can make mistakes. You don't have to worry about it. The tape machine or Pro Tools. I don't like to use that word. I like Pro Tools, but I do tape a lot. But uh, that frees you up. If you make a mistake, so what? If the tape's still rolling, we'll do another take. It's no big deal. So it's kind of a. I've had a lot of people tell me that kind of freed them up. That saying that well, I'm playing for the universe, man. I'm not playing for the tape machine, and so it's going to just remember it for me. So that's how that where that title came from.
So did the title come
And I feel
first, just like the songs?
well. I mean, I had that saying before we named the album that, and
Okay.
then we just thought it was appropriate because really everything you do, you're really doing it for the universe.
Hmm.
I mean you are.
Yep. So I
It's just the
wanted to
truth.
just let people know I've had the amazing honor of being able to listen to this record before it comes out. Now this episode will be out after the record is already out. So if you are listening and watching, there'll be a link down in the description for you to get your own copy of the record. Please do that. Support the artist. This record is, in my opinion, a perfect example of a journey through the annals of time of music itself, from rockabilly to country, blues to rock. There are so many glorious twists and turns on this record. From the production side, was there much of a confluence of old technology with some of the new that created this record?
Well, the Spectrasonics console is a vintage console, and we still have all our vintage mic pre's and
Yep.
all the stuff in the studio, the compressors and the analog echo chamber. So yeah, there's a lot of vintage, but uh, just because it's vintage doesn't mean it's not better. You know,
Exactly right.
uh, it really doesn't. And yeah, there's a lot. And this album is all it is really is it's all the influences, not all of, but it's all the influence I had in my life in music. And I had some pretty heavy influences, but uh, I don't feel like I was trying to imitate anybody. In fact, I know I wasn't trying to imitate
No. Yeah.
anybody because my dad always said if you're not doing anything different, you're not doing anything at all, and he's right about that. So, but it wasn't intentionally different. It was just like you said. You made a point, which is good. There's a lot of different styles, if that's the right word, on this album.
Well,
I
it's like
think
an
it does
encyclopedia
go.
of music and just 10 tracks to me. Like, there's doo wop, there's rockabilly, there's country, there's gospel vibes, there's blues, there's jazz. Like, there's so many different things in this album. Man, it's just great. Um, Also,
Man,
I
I
mean,
appreciate.
it seems to me as a listener and somebody who's pretty well informed on the Sun Records years, this kind of seems like a snippet into the early Sun Record years. Almost like this record could have come out from then. So, was this a trajectory that you guys intended with this record?
Not really. The only thing we wanted to do that was sort of old school was I wanted to be part of the. I was part of the band as playing guitar too, but most people come into the studio these days and they'll put a rough vocal track down. They'll with the musicians playing the track. Go back and sing the real version of it. Well, we wanted to sing the real version while the track was being laid down, and so
Yeah.
which made me the leader of the band, basically. You know what I mean? And so I was talking to him a lot, just on the microphones, about time to take a break or whatever. I mean, I said it in different words than that, but that was a. I just think Hallie and I and Scott believe that music comes when everybody gets in a room together and plays together, and they're like a real band, a
Hmm.
band playing together,
And that
and
doesn't happen
that
anymore at all. Just
it really does. I
yeah.
mean, sometimes the band track is made, and then they send the files
Hmm.
to California for somebody to sing on it, and
Yeah,
then they'll
session
sing
players
on
can
it.
be from all over the world. They never ever get into the same room, and each session player is doing their own parts. Your background vocals are coming from one area, your lead vocals, all of that. They hardly ever even meet each other. People
That's
that
exactly.
listen to music may not even realize that.
Well, I don't think they do, and why would you if you didn't know it? You know what I mean?
Right,
It's
right,
like so if you show if most people when they show up at a concert, they just listen to the band and they go home. They have no idea that those guys have been loading trucks all day, driving 1,000 miles to get there,
right.
unloading, setting up, sound checking, doing the show, tearing down, loading back in the truck, getting up and going somewhere else. So most people don't really realize the process of any of what goes into recording music. And it is a process, but I think the simpler you can make it, better it's going to be. And that's just a mindset that you have to have. I have to have, and the only thing, like I said, the only thing vintage about one of the things vintage about the approach to this album was that number one, we didn't let anybody hear any demos. We didn't want them to be practice what they were going to play, and I sang with the band, and played with the band. And I think I punched one word that Hallie made me punch.
Hmm.
And but the rest of it, and then also Hallie's got friends, the Shoal sisters. They're singers. They sing on thousands of records, and
Yeah.
so this record they came and sang on it along with Susan Marshall and Becky Russell uh, from Memphis, doing background vocals for us. So my dad was from Muscle Shoals, or actually from Florence. My
Yep.
mother was from Sheffield, so we've got a Muscle Shoals Memphis connection there, and we've got that in there. Nobody really knows that, but those kind of things mean a lot to me and to her, and to that it was just the right thing to do.
Well, having
Brought Memphis
all
apart.
those people in the same room, I feel like as somebody who understands kind of a little bit about the studio atmosphere, that adds a more of a human element to the art as well. I feel right instead of everybody being separated. I mean, now you've got that human inflection and tone into the record that wouldn't be there otherwise.
That's true. That's true. And we did separate, like with baffles or something. Like I was kind of standing behind a baffle so that it didn't get into the drums or the piano or whatever. I
Right.
mean, we weren't just all we weren't 706 Union style, where there was no baffles or anything. But we really weren't. Nobody was in a booth or anything. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I don't know if we cut drums one time or two times in the booth. Did we, Hallie? No, we didn't put anything in the booth at all. So yeah, I mean, man, it's just the way music ought to be cut. I think it really is. Not because that's the way I did it, but I just don't believe that you should build it a stage at a time.
Hmm.
You know,
Right.
punch in
Everything's
every
about
damn
layers
thing.
nowadays, right? It's all about
It
layer
is.
upon layer upon layer.
It is, and nobody's out going out on a limb, to where they could fall off to
Right.
their death.
And don't get me
You know what
wrong,
I mean?
as a music fan, I enjoy the layers sometimes, but they have to be
Do too.
they have to be tasteful, and I feel like a lot of times they're just putting layers to put layers. Like,
They are.
sometimes you don't need to fill the silence. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like Steve Cropper told me, and it's true. What you don't play is better and more important than what you do play. You
Absolutely.
know.
And sometimes
So,
less is
but
more. I mean, we've all heard that too, right?
it is, and there's layers of strings on this thing. We doubled the strings that went
Right.
on there, and we doubled the voices. I mean, there's layers on this album too. We're not just so hardcore that we're not going to make it sound as good as it can possibly sound. But
Right.
think the initial approach of the tracks is where it all happens. If the tracks don't have feel to them, then whatever you put on top of it's not going to make it sound any better. It's just going to make it sound different.
Right. Right.